Hello everyone. This tutorial will cover sketching tools with examples of their use. So before we start, one have to understand that sketching is the base feature of any design or any product you're going to design in the future. So the tools we're going to learn today are the line tool, the circle tool, the spline, the rectangular, the arc tool, the ellipse tool, the polygon tool, and the center point straight slot tool. Apart from these tools, we need to have a parameter for all the sketches we're going to create. That is defined as the dimensions. So to define the dimensions, we'll be using this smart dimension tool. So let's start with the line tool. But before that, we need to select one of the planes from where we're going to start our sketch, as we discussed in our class. So let's say we're going to do all our sketches in the front plane. So what we're going to do is select the front plane and click the sketch button here. So it will activate the front plane where we can now start our sketching. One important terminology in the Solidworks interface is that this point around here, this can be identified as the base center point, and what I will prefer mostly is that start sketching from this point, this base point. It will eventually help you a lot to have a reference. So the first tool we're going to learn today is the line tool. Let's click the button for the line tool, and you will see the left property manager will be giving you a number of options. So for the orientation, we have 4 options, namely as sketched, horizontal, vertical, and angle. So by default, the as sketched radio button is selected, and using this you can just draw lines arbitrarily at any orientation, any angle, any direction. Okay, so say on selecting this radio button, and if we click here on the plane where we want to do our sketches, we can just click here. Now we can move it around for in any direction with any dimension. Let's say we're going to draw it like this one. Right click, okay, and when you're done selecting, just click the escape button in your keyboard. So this is the line you have created using your line tool. Now select the line tool here. You will see on the left property manager has changed, and it has given you a number of options. So for starters, let's start with the parameters here. The first one asks you what will be the dimension or the length of this line. Let's say right now it has 96 millimeters. Let's make it 150 millimeters. So we change the number to 150, click enter. The length has changed for this line, and with comparison to horizontal line, this line we just created is at an angle of 24 degrees that we can see from the second option here. So let's say you want to create it at a different angle, say 45 degrees. Just replace the number, click enter. It will change its orientation or angle here. Now on top of it, on the property manager, you will see a number of options called the relations. They are called horizontal, vertical and fix. So while selecting this line, if you click the horizontal button, it will make this line as an horizontal one. So we have already selected the line. Let's click the horizontal button. You can see it has made the line as horizontal. Let's go back a step. Let's say we want to make this line as vertical. So we're going to click the vertical button and it is going to make it vertical. Or say you want to make this line fixed so that no positions can be changed. The way it is, it will be remain the same. So we'll be clicking the fix button. That way it won't move. Okay. Now let's say the other options. If you want to explore the other options in the line toolbar, you will see the other options were horizontal, vertical, or angle. So as you can understand right now, that if we just click the horizontal button, whatever we draw will be a horizontal line. Let's see, I have clicked the horizontal radial button. Now if I want to draw a line, it will always be horizontal. Or say if you want to draw a vertical line, select the vertical radio button here and you can draw any line here. Or say you want to draw a line in particular angle, so click the angle button here and give it a length, say 100 millimeters, and say an angle here, say 25 degrees, and you will see whenever you're drawing, it will draw a line automatically for you with those parameters that you have defined. Say it was 150 and 25. So click on it. You've already created this angle line, and when you're done, click this green button here again, and those are the lines you created. Now one of the important part of these lines are, if you select them, you will see the options called for construction and infinity length. These are some important options that you'll be needing later on when you're creating complex geometries. So what is for construction? For construction means a dotted line, or the line that won't affect your part design. Rather, it will be used as a reference line, which you can use to create complex geometry. So let's see, while selecting this line, if we click the for construction, we'll see it has created a dotted line here as a baseline. And say if you're selecting, say, the infinite length, so it will create a line that has infinite length, as you can understand from the name itself. If you zoom out, you won't be able to see the two ends of this line. Sorry for that. So now we have learned the line tool. Our second tool for today is the circle tool. And if you click on the circle tool, on your left property manager, you will see two options. The first one is a circle that requires two parameters. The first one being the center, and the second one being the radius. So selecting the first option of the circle, let's start from the reference point here, click on it. So this is the center of the circle. If we just move our cursor, we are defining the radius of this circle. So let's click on it here. So we have a circle right now. And if you want to explore the second option, this one requires three parameters, and that is basically 3 points on the circle. it doesn't require you to define where will be the center of this circle. Rather, only 3 points of the circle itself. So let's click on the button for that one. Let's draw it right next to it. So this is going to be the first point, this is going to be the second point, and this is going to be the third point. So basically, based on this 3 points we selected, it will come up with the radius and center and adjust it based on that. So these are the 2 options under the circle tool. Let's delete this. Let's start with let's go with the easy ones first. So let's go to rectangular tool. If you click the rectangular tool, you will see there are 5 options here. The first one, the corner rectangle. Here you will be defining only 2 corners of a rectangular. The second one is called the center rectangle, where you have to just select the center of the rectangle, then one of the corners. The third one requires 3 points, that is the 3 corners of the rectangle to draw the rectangle itself. The fourth one, the 3-point center rectangle. As the name suggests, it requires 3 points. The first one, the center of the rectangle. The second one is one of the corners of the rectangle, and third one, the midpoint, that is the length or the width of the rectangle itself. Now, the last one, the fifth one, is a parallelogram. You basically define 3 points, 3 corners of the parallelogram. Okay, let's draw something. Draw these rectangles from different options. So let's start with the first one, the corner rectangle. That requires 2 corners of the rectangle. Select the button. So clicking here, the first point, clicking again for the second point. So what we did was first selected this corner, then selected this corner. That's it. Now go to the second tool. This is called the center rectangle. For this we require the center of the rectangle, then a corner of the rectangle. So let's select the center first. Now as we move our cursor, it will adjust its height and width. So basically, when we define one of the corners, the whole rectangle has been created. Now let's go to the third one. It requires 3 points of the corner rectangle, 3 corners. Okay, so let's say this is the first point we have created, this is the second point here we have created, and this is the third one. Sorry, another rectangle we create. Now the fourth one, that requires 3 point, that's called the 3-point center rectangle. It requires the first point being the center of the rectangle. Then if we just move it to one direction, it is basically the length of this rectangle, then one corner, so adjusting the height of this rectangle, and we have our rectangle. The last one, the parallelogram. It requires just 3 corners, corner point. So first point here we've selected, let's say the second point here, and the third point we can set it at any angle. And thus we have it. When you're done, click the green button here on the property manager, and you're done. Let's delete this and go to our next tool for today. That is the arc tool. If you select the arc tool, you will see three options here for the arc type. The first one being the center point arc, that requires you to define 3 points: the center and 2 other points that of the part of the on the arc. So if you select the first tool here, let's say this is the center. Now what we need to do is create or select the first point from where this arc will start. Say let's start from this point here. Now we can just move it around and select a second point where this arc will end. Okay, so let's say we give it a length of like this, and 160, I think it should be around 160, 170, 168 degrees. So you've created an arc based on just selecting a center and one first point and the second point. Now the second one is called a tangent arc. Basically here you will need to define 2 points. The first point being one of the part of a line. So if you have a straight line, it will create a tangent relation. Say let's say we start our sketch from this point here. So if you select that tool and select that point from where we ended last time, it will, you see, whenever you're moving for going for the second one, it is the relation. So let's say, let's finish it here. The relation that is being added around this position is a tangent relation. So it will always create a tangent whenever you're using this second option. The last one is similar to the 3-point circle, requires you to define 3 points: the 2 corners, that is being this one, and other to adjust the radius. So if we just select this point here, then the second point here, now we can just adjust the radius or the arc dimension. So the third point, what we did was select the first point, second point, and the third point. That's all for the circle part. Let's delete those. Now let's go for the ellipse tool. We all know what an ellipse is. Normally an ellipse has 2 axes. One is the major axis and another is the minor axis. So if we're going to use the ellipse tool, well, we're gonna basically create we're gonna select a center, then create the major axis, or select the major axis, then the minor axis. So to create an ellipse, what we're gonna do is select the center first. Now it is going to ask you for the create either major or minor axis. So this is the, let's say this is going to be our major axis. Select. Now it will give you select, create the minor axis. Here it will just been created, or vice versa. It can be, say, click the center, create the center point. Now let's say this is going to be our minor axis. So this is minor axis. Let's say this is going to be our major axis. Easy. Now the next tool is going to be our polygon tool. So what is a polygon? A polygon is basically a geometric shape with certain edges. It can be more than 5, 6, 10. So if it's 5, it's called a pentagon. Simple as that. So let's say if you see the left property manager, you will see the options called the parameters, from where we can select the number of edges. So as the example, for the example I gave you a pentagon, so let's give it a parameter of 5. Now you will see two options here, the inscribed circle or circumscribed circle. So inscribed circle is basically a circle. You will have a circle inside the pentagon, so it defines that all the lines will be tangent to that circle. Or the circumscribed circle is basically the pentagon we're going to draw will be inside the circle of our desired radius. So let's start with the inscribed circle, where the circle is inside the pentagon or the polygon. So to draw the polygon, what we're going to need is give the parameter here, then select the center point, and then just click anywhere. You will see the pentagon has been created with the circle inscribed in it. Now the second option, the circumscribed circle, select that. You will see it has modified the design itself, that this pentagon is inside this circle and each point is equally distant from each other. So now let's say when we have already selected this pentagon, if we just change the number of edges here, click enter, it will update it. So let's say you want to create a polygon with 10 edges, change the number, enter it, and you're done. Even a triangle, see, this looks like the updated what is called Iron Man's chest arc reactor, the last design shown in the movie. Anyway, we're left with only two of the tools. One is the slot tool and this second one is spline. So let's discuss the slot tool on class, and we can discuss the spline today. So spline is basically creating lines, non-linear lines, curves basically, with maybe certain relations or without certain relations at any arbitrary. So if you're selecting the spline, you can just click anywhere and make them curve like this, and this is going to be a smooth curve, so the tangents are going to adjust themselves, or the curvatures. So let's say we have created this line. Now if you select this line, you will see some parameters here. These parameters are basically tangent lines created along the curves, and if you want, just move it by selecting this diamond here. So the angle can be changed, or if you select this arrowhead here, you can change the height or length of all of these. So let's say by selecting this diamond here, we can change the parameters a little. You can experiment with it as per your requirement. If you want to do something else, say some particular design where you have to create some curves, say for example, you're going to create a pool, design of a pool, and your client doesn't want you to create a just circular or elliptical pool, rather a particular shape. You can create that shape using this Spline tool. Okay, now last but not the least, the one tool we're going to discuss now is the Smart Dimension tool. It is used to just create dimensions on your designs. Let's say we have created with the line tool this rectangle. Now that you have created this rectangle, you wanna give a particular length to all these lines here. 4 different dimensions for 4 different lines. So what we're going to do is select the Smart Dimension tool, then select one of the lines. If you click it, it will show you the dimension of that line currently. So click anywhere after selecting the line, and it will ask you to enter a number or the length of your desired. Say you want to make this 150 millimeter length. Just enter that number, click enter, the length will update. Say now you want to update the second line here. Same thing, select that line, move it around, then click again. It will again ask you what will be the parameter you want. Let's say you want for this one 200 millimeters. It will just adjust accordingly. Right now you can understand if you wanna just change the dimensions for the next 2 lines, it can be done. Let's say you wanna put a particular angle between this first line and the second line we have put a dimension on. How to adjust that angle? We can directly do that using this Smart Dimension tool. First, what you need to do is select this first line here. Now select the second line here between which you want to create the angle. Now click anywhere between these 2 lines. It will ask you what is the parameter or what is the angle you want to adjust them to. Let's say we want to adjust them to say 50 degrees. Enter the parameter, click enter, it will adjust for you. Using this dimension tool, you can actually adjust any of the size of any of the tools we have learned today. Say you have created a circle, a center circle, you can adjust say the radius of it by selecting the out circle itself using this tool, giving it a parameter itself, then click enter. Now you have a circle with 150 millimeters. You can adjust the location of any object you want with this tool. Let's say, if you remember, this is the base or center point we have in our Solidworks interface, and let's say someone gave you a instruction that this circle's center has to be say 200 millimeters in y-axis and 200 millimeters in x-axis. So what you're going to do, after selecting the Smart Dimension tool, you're going to select the center of this circle, then you're going to select your reference point, and if you move your cursor, you will see a dimension line that mentions the distance between these 2. Click anywhere and give the desired dimension, say 200 millimeters in y-axis. It will just move. Again, say if you wanna create the distance in x direction, you just select the center of the circle and the center of your base, and we want to keep it in say 50 millimeters. Enter the parameter, it will move and adjust it. So basically this is how you define your dimensions using the smart dimension tool. So that will be all for today. I'll later discuss in the class about these tools a little bit, and if you have any questions regarding these tools, you can ask me then. We will go through a tutorial and thus continue our lecture on next class. Thank you.